This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
You're listening to the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring attorney, guest, and former felony prosecutor Eric Faddis.
Scott Peterson's new legal team in L.A., the LA Innocence Project, expressing their eagerness now to investigate his wrongful conviction claim. Peterson convicted 20 years ago now for the murder of his wife, Lacey, and their unborn son. This is all stemming from what they believe to be new evidence that was not looked at, evidence that was not provided in discovery in the original trial. Some of the evidence being a mattress with a fluid on it that looks kind of like blood, and a van that was burned out down the road, and the burglary next door as well. Trying to take a closer look at all of that. Joining us to discuss, former prosecutor, defense attorney Eric Faddis. Is this going to go anywhere, do you think? I mean, we're saying these are pieces of evidence, but we know nothing about these pieces of evidence in terms of them really showing anything other than they're just, there at the time.
Yeah, totally. So the Innocence Project is talking a big game on this case. That there's a lot of publicity that they've got. But like you said, Tony, when you really look at it, we're still in the early stages of them trying to prove his innocence. Because yes, they have this. There's this mattress that allegedly had blood on it, associated with a van, possibly associated with a burglary. But that hasn't even been tested yet. We don't even know that Lacey's biological material is on there. It could be completely unrelated to the case. So I think it's important for people to not jump the gun and shout from the rooftops that Scott Peterson is innocent just yet.
I guess, it is a little suspicious. That down the road there was a van that burned and had this in it. Why was this never, considered the first round? Or was it? And it was just deemed to be nothing to do with this case.
What we do know is that if it was considered, it was not subjected to testing. And that's like DNA testing, that kind of thing. And that's probably in part due to the fact that this case happened a while back. They just didn't have the same technological advancements. But if Lacey's biological material is on that mattress, I think it's a huge game changer. But we're just not there yet. And I think the Innocence Project should probably slow their roll until they have something a little more concrete to present to the court and to the public.
Well, let's play the game and say that it is Lacey's material that's on that mattress. How does that exonerate Scott Peterson? I mean, Scott could have gone to the van too, just like he went fishing for sturgeon with fishing poles right where the bodies were found. I mean, it's not not that it doesn't.
I think that's not how that works. I don't know fishing well, but that can't be right.
You can't. No, it's a spearing fish. You can't fish for it with poles. But yeah,
right.
But yeah, it's another thing that just never added up or made any sort of sense.
Yeah, I mean, what is the takeaway if Lacey's either blood or DNA is on that mattress? I guess defense would say, hey, or try to argue that Scott had nothing to do with this van, nothing to do with this mattress. We must conclude that some other nefarious actors were at play and killed Lacey. That's a bit of an inferential leap, even if Lacey's material is on that mattress, but it certainly would grant huge traction for the defense on their motion.
What kind of technological advances do we have here in DNA testing and other things that they can use that just simply were not around 20 years ago that, could help answer the question if Scott did this or possibly someone else is involved here?
Yeah, so now they have, almost every jurisdiction has, at least major jurisdictions have at least one entity that is designated for DNA testing. And they have a lab, they have professionals in there doing it. They have a database of DNA information to which they can compare samples that they get from a case. The DNA forensics landscape just wasn't as extensive 20 years ago. They just didn't have as many professionals and that kind of thing. Now, was there DNA testing? Yes. Was it more easily challengeable 20 years ago than it is now? Arguably, yes. So things have changed, and we'll have to see if that results in a change in the case. What's
the bar going to be here for him if he were to get a new trial? What do they need to present to the court where the court's going to say, yeah, okay, let's give this another go?
usually defense has to present some form of new evidence and has to convince a judge, at least in this circumstance, that without this, or excuse me, if the jury would have known this evidence, it is reasonably likely that they would have come to a different decision. Now, that's a hard determination for any court to make.
Yeah.
But in looking at it, if this evidence does come to light, and if it is material enough, a court could reasonably say, hey, look, the jury should have heard about this, and we're going to remand for a new trial so a new jury can hear about it.
And as we've seen recently, even if you have a juror, sometimes it says, I was influenced. That doesn't mean you get a new trial. Alec Murdaugh experienced that recently. With what we have here, with the van, with the burglars across the street, if we can show that they're her biological materials on the mattress, or that there's something connecting the burglar next door, is that strong enough to do just that?
In my opinion, I think it's strong enough to at least get a new trial. It's not strong enough for like an outright dismissal where they're going to say, oh, clearly Scott is innocent. We got this all wrong. Let's let him out. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that if her evidence, if her material is on that mattress, that's enough in some people's minds to create a doubt that is reasonable as to whether Scott Peterson really did this.
Yeah. We'll have to see where this goes. It's a case that never ends.
Sick of the ads?
We are too.
Start listening with no commercials now and get access to all of our episodes in advance of everyone else.
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Sign up now.